Now we're going to take a look at the facial bones. So if we remove the cranial bones, we can see that these are the facial bones here. And then we also have the mandible, which we can see on this skull here. The maxilla is called the keystone of the facial bones because, like the sphenoid bone that articulates with all the cranial bones, the maxilla articulates with all the facial bones. Here we have the infraorbital foramen, and if we take a medial view, we can see here that we have the palatine process. Next we're going to take a look at the zygomatic bone, and we can see the zygomatic bone right here, and we can also see the zygomatic bone on this skull here. And the zygomatic bone has a few processes. This process here is called the temporal process of the zygomatic bone. This process is the frontal process of the zygomatic bone, and then this process is the maxillar process of the zygomatic bone. Next bone we're going to take a look at is the palatine bone, and the palatine bone forms the posterior aspect of the hard palate. So if we turned this up here, we can see that this is the palatine bone here, and this is the maxillar process, and then the palatine bone goes all the way up, and the top portion of it helps form the orbit of the eye. The only movable joint in the skull is the mandible, and if we look here, we can see that we have the coronoid process here. These are the mandibular condyles, which articulate with the temporal bone. Here we have the mental foramen, and if we take a view on the inside, we can see that right here we have the mandibular foramen. The body of the mandible is here, and then we have the ramus, which is a projection from the main direction of the body, here. Next we have three small paired bones that we're going to just briefly mention. We have the nasal bones, which fit in right here, which form the bridge of the nose. We have the lacrimal bone, which is sitting right in here, which helps form the orbit of the eye. And then we have the inferior nasal conchae, which are their own little bone, which form the lateral wall of the nasal cavity. The last facial bone that we're going to talk about is the vomer, and the vomer forms the posterior and inferior portion of the nasal septum, and we can see it right in here.